Welcome back, everybody. I have really good news, and that is this lesson I think will rock your socks off. And I also have some really sad news for you, so sit down. I hope you can handle this. This is the last lesson in this short mini course. Soak it in, watch it a few times if you have to. I'm going to crank through a lot of really, really important material because this topic here is so super critical for anyone who does B2B sales on LinkedIn. And that topic is reaching your sales goals by measuring KPIs. This is where we are headed. Remember how I said LinkedIn is a jerk and they don't give you any data? Well, if you are smart and you are diligent and you know how to do this, you can actually track your KPIs, make informed decisions about how your campaigns are performing, and then make a plan based off of real data. Whoa, here we go. I think it's worth saying, since a lot of you guys are into data and analytics and sales, you really do need data to reach your sales goals. Otherwise, you're just guessing. You cannot make a plan with no information and guesswork. You need data. And LinkedIn, I said this before, LinkedIn is a jerk. LinkedIn doesn't give you any metrics for organic outreach. I mean, zero. They give you profile views. That does not mean jack. They don't give you any KPIs worth measuring. So then if you're a smart marketer and you want to make a plan and you want to make data-driven revisions to your campaign, you're going to ask questions like, well, how are you supposed to evaluate your connection acceptance rates? How are you supposed to know if the amount of people who are replying to your messaging, if it's too low? What about how many connections converted to your sales funnel? You want to use spreadsheets for everything? Good luck with that. Or what about how many leads became clients, your acquisition rate? How can you make data-driven plans to meet your sales goals without any data? You can't. Actually, you can. There is a solution, which is the whole point of this lesson and why I'm so passionate about it. You won't find what we're going to talk about anywhere on LinkedIn's help pages. So I'm just going to tell you. And P.S., this thing that I'm going to show you, I gave you the kind of glance a moment ago. That's something that we had to develop at Zico as a service provider. It took a long time to figure out what we needed and how to measure it, what the KPI should be. We were basically forced to create that because we needed two things. Number one, we need reporting for our clients. And LinkedIn doesn't give you any kind of reporting data. I mean, what are you going to do other than keep a spreadsheet? That's not enough to make good reports. So we needed info for client reports, and we needed data and reporting so that we could do campaign optimization or like internal accountability. So we developed this process out of sheer necessity. People are giving us money to get results. Oh my gosh, we need data. What does LinkedIn provide that can get us there? So here is the way you need to go, okay? Tagging. Tagging is the solution. Here is why. You can use tags to measure your KPIs. Oh my goodness, I just said that. You can use tags to measure your KPIs. You can also, if you've measured the KPIs with tagging, you can create reports. And side note, side benefit actually, you can do a whole lot more with tags if you do it the right way. They are like your secret weapon. Let's talk really quick for those of you who are not in the know. What is a tag? Basically, a tag is a unique label that you give to a LinkedIn member. And that tag can be anything you want. I'll talk about naming conventions and best practices to match with your KPIs in just a minute, but you could create a special tag called creepy person because sometimes, there are creepy people out there and you might never want to talk to them. So you might want to create a tag that says creepy person, tag them, creepy person, and then you'll know whenever that guy pops up, you don't want to talk to that person because he's a creepy person. And they'll never know what the tag is. Anyways, that's a fun bunny trail. Let's talk about how to tag LinkedIn members. Now, before I do a screen share on this, I'm going to tell you, you have two options. I am very biased towards one. You'll see why in a moment. Two options though. Option number one, you can use a third-party tool like a browser extension. I do not like this option. I will tell you why in a moment. The second option that you have is you can use the tagging feature that is built right into Sales Navigator. And here's why I don't like the third-party tools, because number one, they come and they go. I mean, you might be using one and relying on it, and then suddenly the developer goes radar silent and it doesn't work anymore. So annoying. Plus, it's not built in natively and it just doesn't have as many bells and whistles. So I do not like third-party tools. If you do, that's totally cool. We are going to focus on using the built-in sales nav tags because they are a million times better. So let's take a look here in action. How do you tag LinkedIn members? All right, this will be fun, right? Here we go. Who knows this guy, Jeff Sauer? If you don't, you probably should. Let's give Mr. Jeff Sauer a tag. Here it is right there, built right in. I can do tag. I can name these whatever I want. I've got a few initiatives going on here. Let's say that I'm not connected to Jeff. I'm going to start the whole campaign process. And so what I'm going to do is tag Jeff as invited, pending, apply, and then boom, I can send him a custom connection request. Or if he is responding to me, I could go in and just manually update this and say replied, apply. You can do more than one tag. It tends to be easier to measure KPIs when you just do one tag. That's how you tag someone. It's built right in, super easy. You can't really get it wrong. The one downside though is that tagging, it is a manual process like I just showed you. So if you're familiar with like an email campaign or something that's automated and it changes tags for you based off of what they do, that's not going to happen on LinkedIn. Sorry to burst your bubble. Yes, it can be a pain. It's not even really pain. It's more of just a couple seconds extra time spent. And take this from the owner of a company who's a service provider. It's worth the time investment. And when you're a service provider, your time is money. And I'm telling you that tagging people to get KPIs and do campaign optimization and do reporting, it is worth the time investment. All right, on to the next point here. Tags enable you to measure KPIs. KPIs are measurable numbers. It's not an idea. It's a number that you can measure. And that measurable number reveals whether or not you are achieving your goals or not. You need those numbers, and the numbers need to be about the right things. You need those KPIs. So on LinkedIn, this is the next kind of obvious question. What KPIs should you be tracking on LinkedIn? And this is where it gets a little bit hairy because LinkedIn doesn't tell you, and tagging is such an underutilized process, and no one does this. What should you track? What matters? Connection acceptance rates. This is a KPI that you should absolutely be measuring. This is where it starts. If no one accepts your connection request, it's like over. And then another one is how many people are not replying. What is your no reply amount? What is that number? Is it too high? A KPI that you absolutely need to measure. Conversions to sales funnel. How many people on LinkedIn converted to whatever your sales funnel is? That's need to know information. And then client acquisition. How many people that went into your sales funnel as leads became a client? Need to know KPI information right here. And that leads me to my next point. Tags should be named after KPIs. Now, you can name your tags based off of whatever you want, whatever your unique goals are. That's totally cool. I want you to get creative. Don't feel boxed in like you have to do exactly what's in this lesson. But whatever KPIs you want to measure, you've got to name your tags after those KPIs. Since they're so closely related to the KPIs, tag names tend to be universally things like invited, pending. And that's going to help you measure acceptance rates. And we're going to look at that really cool KPI worksheet in just a second where it's going to do all the math for you. If someone has accepted a connection request and you've sent them a message but they have not replied, that is a no reply tag. And that's going to be very helpful for you to measure your engagement rates. Replied in funnel, so you sent them a message, they're talking, maybe it's a slow process, maybe it's fast, but they've replied, they're in your messaging funnel. That is need to know information for your engagement rates for sure. I'd like to also do replied once follow-up because it reminds me that they've expressed interest of some kind in the past. You want a tag that's called converted to sales funnel. Obviously, you want to measure conversion rates. So just create a tag that said converted to sales funnel. Create a tag that is called client. This is how you're going to measure your acquisition rates. How many people that were leads are now clients. And then finally, I also like to create a tag that says not a lead. And the reason why I like to do this is there's actually two reasons. Number one, it does help you determine your list quality. If you're going through and you're finding that maybe 20% of the people on that list, they're just not a lead, that's really good market info for you to know. So create a tag that says not a lead. And then the second reason why I like not a lead is if I'm doing a top of mind campaign, which we've kind of very briefly scratched the surface on in the past lessons. But if somebody is not a lead and I'm doing a top of mind campaign, I want to exclude them because they're not a lead. On to the juicy stuff here. I think you're going to geek out. I hope you'll geek out with me because this is fun stuff. Tags make measuring KPIs really easy. I mean, so easy. If you've done the small amount of work in the front end tagging people, even though it's manual, it's just so easy. Here's how you do it. Here we are in Sales Nav. We are on the search for leads page, not accounts. And check that out. Built right in is tags. Oh yeah. All I have to do is click plus. Let's choose, oh, for fun, replied in funnel. And as soon as I do that, all of the other numbers are going to propagate. Look at that. This is everybody who is currently, they have replied. And then these are all of my other numbers. Really so easy to get that information. I can't even believe how easy that is. All I have to do is take these numbers and plug them into the right spreadsheet, and my KPIs turn into a report. I mean, how cool is that? So let's do that. If tags make KPI reporting easy, let me just show you how to create a report so that you can make data-driven decisions about optimizing a campaign and then creating a plan to reach your sales goals. All you've got to do is just grab these numbers and plug them into the spreadsheet that I'm going to give you for free. You're welcome. It is going to look like this. Now, what I'm going to do here, I want you to, wrap your head around this, and I don't want to spend a ton of time going through all of the details, but just so you kind of get an idea of some of the important variables here. So if you click on things like, if you're not familiar with Excel, you can go to a cell here, and then the formulas are right up on top. And this is kind of how it works. You've got your sale value, right? This right now is set to $5,000. So when you close a deal, how much is it worth, right? Is it 5,000, 10, 20? I would probably take that over a year. So it's probably more accurate to say, to make informed decisions, annual sale value. So let's say right now this is $5,000 per sale. And then another thing to know is, what's your acquisition rate? You might need to talk to your sales team about this. Maybe you don't know. You should know. For every lead that you get, what's the percentage that you close? So if your acquisition rate here is 20%, that means for every 10 leads that come in, you close 2 of those 10. Or if it's 5 leads, you close 1 in 5. That is your acquisition rate. How many leads become clients? That's acquisition rate. And you can change these two. Just plug in whatever numbers you have, and they're going to be calculated down here when you create your lead gen action plan. Oh my gosh, you're going to love this. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I just get too excited. First thing here that we're going to look at for measuring KPIs is your invitation acceptance rates. So all you have to do is go to your sales nav here, grab the number of people who are still invited pending. Those, by the way, are going to be relationship second and third, because if they are first degree, they've accepted your connection request. Grab that invited pending number and just put it right here. You can look up here and see that there's no formula going on. So just plug however many is invited pending there, and then that's all you need to do on this very top part here. I might even change the color for you to make it simple. The next thing that you're going to want to do is just take your tag numbers here for your KPIs and just plug in whatever the numbers are for these tags. So how many no replies do you have? All you have to do, just like with invited pending, go here and grab how many people are no reply. This is a demo count. It's got a lot. So for 33,463, totally cool. We're just going to leave that. We'll leave the demo content in here just to make the numbers easy. So we've got 500. If that's your number, how many people are not a league? Just grab the number of tagged people, plug the numbers in, boom, 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 boom. It won't take you long at all. I mean, as fast as you can look over at Sales Nav and then type the numbers, your report here is done. Then we're going to pop down here. I'm going to call this active users. So what you'll find is a lot of times, like I said a little while ago, people will accept your invite and then they'll never do anything again. They're kind of just, I don't know, I need to invent a cool nickname for people that accept and then don't do anything afterwards. So it's kind of nice to take this no reply group here and just exclude them from your numbers, because then you can get an idea for what kind of percentages you're looking at with people who are active in the conversation. So what you do is you plug your numbers in here, and then these guys in this table, this is just going to pull the same numbers. So whatever not a lead is here, it's going to be the same. So if I change this from 100 to 200, it's going to change right there. Okay. If I change converted to sales funnel from 50 to 70, it's going to change right there. And what you're looking at is essentially if half the people that connect with you, they just don't reply in messaging, it basically just doubles your percentage numbers over here. And it's just kind of helpful to see. But the KPIs that you are looking at, and this is where the data becomes so super helpful when you're looking at your KPIs for a campaign, is this guy right here. This is kind of what you're really looking at. These are your KPIs. So let's actually hop up here. Accepted. What is your acceptance rate? A pretty good number to shoot for if you're doing a really good job at your connection request message, if you're using the right strategy and the right group and your profile is optimized the way it should be. If you can get about a 30%, 25 to 30% acceptance rate, you should be happy about that. Now, some cities are going to be higher. Some cities are going to be lower. Some industries and job titles tend to be higher and lower because some industries, cities, and job titles and roles in the company use LinkedIn more or less. So that's something to be aware of, but a kind of blanket statement, good rule of thumb to shoot for is you want 25 to 30% of your invites to be accepted. And then for people that do accept, this is, you probably want to write this down or come back and watch this. You'll find, and again, this does vary by industry, location, that kind of thing. A good number to shoot for is about 50% of people are going to be no reply. If your no reply is too high, if it's more than 50%, you're going to want to consider changing maybe who you're talking to, change what your profile says, maybe change what your first message is. But if you hadn't measured this 50%, you would never know. And kind of backtracking a little bit with your connection acceptance rate, if that's low, if it's below 25%, you need to ask yourself, do you need to change your connection request message? Do you need to change the group? Is your profile communicating what you needed to communicate? So use the acceptance KPI to measure really what your connection request message is going to be, who you're doing outreach on, what your profile says, but text-wise, it's going to be what your message is. And then no reply, if that's too high, you're probably either talking to the wrong people or saying the wrong thing. Not a lead. This is really something you can't do a whole lot about. If someone is not a lead, if they're never going to be a good prospect, that just is what it is. Maybe their profile is out of date, but it is helpful to see this because if you're finding that you're not a lead is more than maybe 10%, you might consider revising your outreach list if there's a common theme in everybody that's not a lead. Something to think about. And then you've got replied in funnel. This is going to be, around 30%-ish are going to be talking. Keep in mind too that the longer a campaign runs, the higher this tends to be. So when you first start, it's going to take people some time to engage with your messaging. Some people are only on LinkedIn, once a month, and that's totally okay. That's the way it is. As a campaign kind of moves forward and matures, usually people reply, and then as those stragglers come in, this number tends to go up. Below 25, 30%, you might want to think about changing what you're saying to your audience. Converted to sales funnel, again, a good rule of thumb is about 5% of people that accept your connect. And then if you want to talk about active users, this is where again it gets a bit helpful. About 10%, they're going to convert to your sales funnel. And I realize that what you're selling can really impact what this percentage is. So I've worked with recruiters and everybody wants to talk to a recruiter, right? Hey, a new, better job for me with more money? Sure, of course I'll talk to you. So in that kind of situation, the conversion to sales funnel is going to be a lot higher, way higher than 5%, which is fantastic. But their close rate to become a client might be again, like 1% or just really low. If you're selling something that's a more tough sell, like a consulting package where people, they don't want to admit that they have a problem and, oh, you got to like twist their arm to get them to go into your sales funnel, it might be below 5%. So shoot for about 5. And if it's less than 5, you might want to consider relabeling what you're offering or changing your messaging call to action text. And then for client here, this really depends on your sales team actually, because by this point, the conversation has really left LinkedIn. And if you are closing 1 in 5, that tends to be about 20%. I'm just kind of using the same data here, 20% acquisition rate. So maybe 10 of those 50 leads turn into clients. Pretty cool stuff. So those are the KPIs that you should be measuring right here. And then that's the numbers that you should be shooting for. If the numbers are lower than what we just talked about, consider changing whatever part of your campaign is relevant to that KPI. And again, these numbers are not absolute truths. Your city, what you sell, your job title, who you're talking to, it's all going to be a variable that can make these change. Take this process and make it your own. On to our final point here. This is what I mentioned at the very beginning. You can use this data to plan for achievable sales goals. And this is really something that you should be after if you're into sales. Information is good, data is good, but data and info without action doesn't mean anything at all. So let's talk about creating an action plan for you based off of your real data to make achievable sales goals. And that's going to be right down here, your lead generation action plan. So let's say here you've got the connection request, 1,500, maybe send out 2,000, 25, 300. I would not do this much in a month, just FYI. But over time, if you send out 1,500 connection requests and the acceptance rate is, let's say it's at 29%, that means 432 about people will accept your connection request. That's fantastic. Now, if you go off of your conversion to sales funnel percentage, which is 5%, that means about 21 people will convert to your sales funnel. Now, see, this is info that is going to help you take action. A conversion to sales funnel, this is a need to know number. Is this something that you can do? Can you send out 1,500 connection requests if you do the campaign calendar? How long is that going to be? Can you have 432 conversations? Of course you can. If 21 people convert to your sales funnel and your acquisition rate is averaging about 20%, that means that of these 21 people, about 4 are going to become clients. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing to know? And then if you look at your average sale value, let's say right now it's $5,000, that means that if these are all right, you can expect about $21,000 from every 1,500 connection requests that you send. Isn't that so cool? Because now you have actual actionable data. And here, let me just go over one more column because I feel like people forget on LinkedIn that there are human beings on the other end of the line. It's not like a CSV email list and you can just blast out and never see the person. These are people and they're talking to you and they're busy and they're also professionals. And if this is your KPIs and this is what's going on and your average sale value and your acquisition rate, the average value of each connection is $50. So if you decide to do something loosey-goosey and maybe borderline spam, every person that you burn the bridge with that subpar activity, it's like you're just handing out $50 bills. Boom, boom, boom. Not a good idea. Let's also do this. So maybe this amount of time and these KPIs and this sale value, maybe that's good. Maybe that's helpful. But what if what you're selling is not $5,000? This is something that you really need to know. What if what you sell is only $1,000? Okay, let's change that. And then let's drop it down and say your acquisition rate is only 1 in 10, okay? That means if these have been your KPIs and you sell something that's only $1,000, if you send out 1,500 connection requests, you're going to make $2,000 whole dollars. That's probably not worth your time. So what you need to do is take a look at what these numbers are, and you should know from having done your campaigns how much time this is going to take you to send out this many connection requests. And if this number is too low, then you either need to up your price, up your acquisition rate, or just sell something that makes financial sense. Maybe LinkedIn is not for you. So if you're B2B, this is really critical to know. It might influence the actual cost of your service. Huge. So 1,000 isn't enough. Let's bump this back up to 5,000 at 10% acquisition rate. You look at this, if I send out 1,500 connection requests, $10,000, that's maybe pretty cool, but man, I really know we can make a lot more money if our sales team increases the acquisition rate. So maybe you can't charge more than $5,000. Maybe your sales team sucks. Maybe there's no sales funnel set up. Maybe that's the weak link in the chain. If you can get them from 10 to 20%, you literally just doubled your sale value from the same amount of time that you're spending on LinkedIn. Wow, right? Anyways, fun stuff. So go ahead and get this downloaded. And I would encourage you to use tags, name your tags based off of these KPIs. Just plug your sale value in, plug in your acquisition rate, plug in your invited pending tag number, plug in what these tag counts are right here. It'll add up the total. This guy here is going to exclude the no reply to give you an idea of what the active user percentages are. And then you can have a lead gen action plan right down here that'll help you know when you send out this many connection requests, you can expect this much in sales. So cool. Right now, I'm pretty sure that you know more than most people who use LinkedIn, which I think is pretty cool. So give yourself a pat on the back. You're becoming a pro, and for sure, we didn't even have time to cover everything. If you go to LinkedIn, there are a million things going on. So we've literally just scratched the surface. We didn't even get to talk at all about profile optimization strategies. How do you get your profile to show up in search? How do you get your profile to attract the attention of your leads? How do you get your profile to communicate that you are worth knowing? Profile optimization, super, super important. There's macro cheats that you can do to save time without sacrificing quality. It does the heavy lifting, makes you not get arthritis, and it's not automation, so the quality does not suck. Really, really important. You can do some really cool things with advanced CRM integration. So it doesn't matter if you're using Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive. If you have a major CRM that's commonly used, what do you do if you're in the penalty box? All the time, I talk to people where they have been doing automation and they got put in the penalty box. What should you do to get out of it? Can you? Connection request strategies, super huge. If no one accepts your connection request, it's a showstopper. So there's some really serious things that you need to know about sending that connection request. And it's more than just the message. It's all kinds of things. You need to know the strategies. There's connection personas. Don't only connect with potential leads. We didn't talk about how to do market research. I could geek out on market research all day. You can get such valuable info, especially from SalesNav and Boolean, to make all kinds of business decisions like product releases, dividing up sales territories, how many people are in your market, in the news, how do you get in the news, how can you use it, what about leveraging lions during outreach, top of mind campaigns. There's so many things that you can do to stay top of mind in a relational way that's not spammy and sleazy. There is a right way to use InMail. InMail is very commonly misused, and it's a major waste of money. There's a right way to use InMail, and you can get free InMail from open profiles. There's a whole process there. You can mine job posts for leads. That's fun. You can do frenemies, if you know what that is. There's message mapping. How do you do that? What software should you use? What strategies should you use? What about building an in-house team? You might look at that KPI sheet and go, I do not have time to send that many messages. I want someone to do it for me. And so what I'll do is I'm going to send you a checklist that's going to help you get started, because there's so much info and it probably feels like drinking from a fire hydrant. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just let this information soak in. Apply what you've learned go ahead, come back and rewatch these. Please do that. And then I want you to get creative. And I will unashamedly ask you to tell your friends to take this course. And if, this is a big if you are serious about using LinkedIn for high-ticket B2B sales, so you look at that KPI sheet, you plug in the numbers, and you go, yeah, that makes sense. If I send out this many connection requests and hit these numbers, I can do this much in sales. This makes sense to me. If that's you, I would encourage you to check out Linked Jumpstart, because this is, like I said, super introductory, couple hours. Linked Jumpstart is more like 11 plus hours where we go in depth on all these things. And of course, everyone who goes through this short course is offered a discount. Thank you so much for your time, and get out there and have fun.